What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to go over an incredibly interesting rumor on Life is Strange 4. Now, I want to take a different approach with this video because while I do find this incredibly cool, and trust me, there's very few people on planet Earth, other than I would say maybe me and Dom the Bomb, that want Life is Strange 4, but I'm going to heavily assume this is completely fake. So I'm doing this simply because I think it's fascinating, and I want to talk about it with you guys at home. But do I expect this to be real? No, and I'll go over some of the reasons why as we go through. So let's just read it out. It comes from Reddit, and they literally say, I have no real proof that this source is reliable, so just assume there's a 99% chance that this is BS. But I heard from someone that's tested the game that Life is Strange 4 is coming, and Max will once again be the main character. Apparently, she's a professor in art school, and her powers have been upgraded so she can travel to alternate realities and use that to solve mysteries. It also follows the choices you made in the first game, and Chloe can make an appearance if you kept her alive. The basis of the story is that she's investigating the murder of a friend/student of hers. She steps between realities and ends up finding her friend alive in the alternate timeline and uses that to solve the murder. There will apparently be other people with powers in the game as well. The first half of the game is supposed to be amazing, but not the second half. Hopefully they'll fix it before release, though. As a Life is Strange fan, I think this could be awesome, but only time will tell if any of this stuff ends up being real. The fact that there's a rumor of a Life is Strange 4 with Max as the protagonist almost makes me teary-eyed, because that's all I really want in life. Is I've been saying I want Max to return, and I do think you could do it. I mean, if you want to do a crossover with Alex from True Colors, I mean, honestly, you could do it. I really think you could. Max is one of my favorite characters of all time, not just in Life is Strange, but just of all time. So I would really, really want this to be true. And then the idea of what's going on, I mean, well, it's somewhat similar, like a murder of a friend/student of hers. I mean, in a way, it's like a Chloe and then Rachel-like thing, but it's not. I know people in the comments were saying, like, this is, like, there's the comics, right? And the comics are really considered by a lot of people to, like, you know, you can read them, but if you don't want to, it probably is not going to make its way into the Life is Strange canonical universe. I mean, maybe to some people it does, but I think overwhelmingly it doesn't really matter to most people. But there is something like this, I guess. I haven't read them. There is something like this, I guess, in the comics, where she can go into alternate timelines. Like, she can literally step in or alternate universes and go through that. So I mean, I like the setup. The thing that's, okay, now why do I think that it's fake? Well, there's no source. The source, like, the way they talk is very confusing, and it honestly makes you want to not trust them from the beginning, because they literally start by saying there's no proof that the source is reliable, so assume there's a 99% chance this is BS, but then they go into it anyway, and it's like, well, but if the source isn't reliable, so you think you have the person who wrote this is the one who talked to the source, quote unquote. That's the play tester of this game, and they believe there's a 99% chance that the person they're talking to isn't real. Then why would you say it? And then they also, the first half of the game is supposed to be amazing, but not the second half. Hopefully they'll fix it before release. But I thought you just said it's fake. So why are you saying hopefully they'll fix it before release? Shouldn't the mindset of the writer be that, like, well, it doesn't matter if the first half is good and the second half is bad because it's not a real game? I don't know. It comes, and again, no source. It's just posted on Reddit. Now, again, it's fascinating. I really would like it to be true. Another question that obviously would come to mind is who's making it? Because you had Don't Nod, who's basically, now, Don't Nod's interesting. I guess we can start there. Don't Nod's interesting because obviously, right, they started Life is Strange, they made Life is Strange 1, and for as much, I give them tough love because I think they've made some really good stuff, obviously, with the first game. I personally despise the second game, and then, they've kind of been very up and down with the other, like, Twin Mirrors and stuff like that they've done. Tell Me Why, which is a solid game, but, they've kind of been up and down since then. They've never, in my opinion, made anything nearly as good as the first Life is Strange game. That's their best work to date, and I don't know if I would call them a one-hit wonder kind of studio, but somewhat close to that. So they've kind of retired from Life is Strange. They're doing their own stuff, but they're doing, and remember, they did like that teaser of all the games that they're making, and remember, they're publishing their own stuff. They've grown, they've opened up multiple studios actually kind of around the world, so they're doing big things. Could one of those 5 or 6 games they're making, or however many it is, could one of them be Life is Strange? Yes, and the way they've talked too is like, well, we're not doing Life is Strange now, but we could always come back in the future. That's kind of been their go-to line over the last like couple of years. So is it possible one of those 6 is Life is Strange? Yeah, but if you've play tested like the entire game too, I mean you could, if this is true, then the playtester has played through the entire game, then it shouldn't be all that far out. So we shouldn't be looking at like 3-4 years. We should be looking at like a year and a half, 2 years. So, I guess we'd find out relatively soon if this person is BSing us or not. So, if it's Don't Nod, that's the situation. Deck 9, I liked Before the Storm. I know not everybody else did. And I think it was kind of like a mixed bag. I don't think people necessarily hated it, but I just don't think people thought it was all that amazing. But you had that. And then, of course, you had True Colors. True Colors also seems to kind of be mixed. I love it. I love that game. I know there's others that do, but I also know that there's many that say, Life is Strange 1 is the only good one, which is fine. That's totally fine if you think that. I can understand that. So, I don't know. I mean, if it's Deck 9, I mean, there's stuff there that would make me trust them actually quite a bit, personally. But they're busy. Like, they're very busy. They're working on other games. I don't know when the next time they would go back to Life is Strange. I also, and this is the final thing I'll say, I also don't know the longevity of, I know Life is Strange is supposed to be getting, a TV show as well, but like, based off of what we can kind of gather, I really only think the first Life is Strange game sold well. And the first Life is Strange game kind of miraculously sold well, where it didn't seem like they were expecting it to do all that amazing, and then it did really well, and then they were like, holy God, like, we have a franchise here. 2, they never really talked about the numbers ever of what Life is Strange 2 did, but I'm going to heavily assume that it did not do nearly as much as 1. Before the Storm, can you even count it? And then you have True Colors. True Colors was the full price game. I don't know. I think it was big in the community, but I don't think it was big literally anywhere else. So I don't know. I think a separate issue here is almost like, is this franchise popular anymore? To me, it still is. I think to a lot of us, it still is. But I don't know. I feel heavily, my conspiracy theory, I feel heavily that none of the games after Life is Strange 1 have sold as well as that game. And that could eventually have them just say, we're going to pull the plug. On the flip side, the idea of going back to Max is a smart one, right? It's kind of like, I don't know, it's what you see like in movies of like if they do the reboot, right, and they bring back like a legacy character. It's kind of that, right, where it's like, well, we've had our ups and downs in the franchise, but what did people really like? Well, they liked really one and all, right? They liked the time travel. They liked Max kind of overwhelmingly. Well, let's do the next game and let's bring Max back. That seems smart, and honestly, I would do the same decision. I think they did well with Alex, and I think they did well with True Colors, but again, not everybody liked that, and I don't know the sales. I mean, if the sales were horrible, then yeah, internally they could be saying, all right, we got to go back to the drawing board, and when we say go back, we mean literally go back to the first game, because that was the only one that kind of worked critically, it worked commercially, people bought it, that's the only one that worked. So it makes sense, it really does, and the plot even like makes sense, but I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess, if it turns out to be true. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Bell icon turned on so you know when all these videos go up. If you want to follow or support me anywhere else, all my social media, including our Patreon, is in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.